All right, so there we go. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another live broadcast here. Today is June the 13th, 2026. And so glad that you guys are here. Tonight, we are going to talk about something that Karmelo Anthony's father said in a recent interview. All I got to say is I wish of course I have words, but it's just, I don't know. I think what's baffling to me is the amount of people that were, what he said, it literally went over their heads. Like totally, like nobody, not too many people paused for a second to really flesh this thing out, what he actually acknowledged in this recent interview. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this, not really being, I'm being funny, but not really being funny with the title. If you look at the thumbnail, I'm making this correlation between, the pineapple Kool-Aid trend and people with, basically willing ignorance, right? And there is a correlation between the two, bad diet. And when you immerse yourself constantly in social media, there is some very dangerous results that come out of that. And I'm gonna give you some examples, and we're gonna talk about that. And I don't think it's just merely a coincidence that we just had this high sugar trend that was, that many black folks latched onto, and then all of a sudden this story comes up. And sometimes we got to learn to listen to the environment, because a lot of times the environment is telling us things. And I think that's one of them. So we're going to talk about that just from a biological, perspective. We're going to get into that in health perspective and the things we can do to prevent that, right? We're going to get into that. And then finally, well, I told you we're going to, what I do on this platform is I just simply observe. That's it. That's the whole purpose of this platform, is we observe culture. We talk about all the aspects of it. As you know, we love history. We love promoting our fathers. We love promoting our mothers. We love promoting strong families and defending families. We love to defend our history, and not allowing knuckleheads to come in and bring their own their own inventions about black history and all of that. We vigorously fight against that with facts and truth. And so that's what we're about here. And so, but at the same time, we also going to look at the negative, the things that we need to work on, the things we need to focus on. We don't believe in ignoring things or simply diverting, the deflecting and saying they must be tethers that are doing that, because clearly we as black Americans don't do that kind of stuff, that kind of foolishness. No, we don't do that at all. Here we know and understand the importance of taking accountability, being responsible, and not just pointing the finger and saying bad, 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 but also talking about what we can do to fix that. You know what I mean? But also being honest and being straight up and saying, hey, some things we just going to have to cut off. There's some people that just going to have to die. They're going to have to die. Okay. That's just what it is. I'm just going to be honest with you. Some people, you're just going to have to let it play out, for them. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be discussing this evening. And I'm so glad that you guys are here. Let's go ahead and get some music. We're going to give it about a minute or so to allow people to get on. And then from there, we're going to jump literally right in it. We're not playing around tonight. We're going to get right in it. So welcome to the broadcast.
I've been running with the winds of change, trying to find my name in the rain, but the mountain never moves. It just breathes in the silence and it knows the truth. Clouds come and go, say they've touched the top, but the mountain smile says, child, I never stop. Through all the noise I finally see, the stillness I was chasing is inside of me. Be the mountain, never shaken, never torn. Be the sky above the clouds, reborn. Be the star in the calm of night, always shining, always light. The real you, the real life is a peace that never
All right, about another 30 seconds.
Watch the ages turn like pages. Watch the heart forget who it was. But that voice inside, unchanged by time, still whispers love, because it was love.
Turn the noise down. Can you hear it? That child within.
Still here, still clean.
You are not your thoughts, you're the space between them.
Be still.
And remember who you are.
Hey, come on.
Be the sky, be the sky, be the sky, shine endlessly. The real who's been here all along, quiet, ancient, never strong.
All right.
Be the mountain, be the
Welcome.
mountain, be the sky, be the sky,
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
be the star.
Another wonderful day out. Another hot day out. I don't even know how hot we got out today, but here in Arizona, right now, as I'm talking to you right now, it is 104 degrees and the sun is shining, baby. It's hot out there, but it's very nice. It's still nice. I love the sun. I love the sun. I love the sun, y'all. I absolutely love the sun, y'all. And and you should love it too. If you got as much melanin as I have, you better make sure you out there just collecting as much as you can. Do it safely, but make sure you getting it. Making sure you get yours, because that, my friend, sunlight exposure plays a very critical role in your mental state. It really does. So if you're someone that's always in front of your computer, always on your phone, but you are barely going outside, and but instead you're constantly exposing yourself to LED lights, well, that's going to be part of the problem why you always uptight and stressed out. When you are exposed to natural sunlight, it has a way of relaxing you. And so I cannot stress this enough, particularly those of you who have a lot of melanin in your skin. Please, please make sure you're getting outside and getting that sunlight. Breathing exercises, making sure you do that. Going for walks. My wife, she has this little kit. I'll tell you about this. And I have been noticing, you know, if you learn about your lymphatic system, oh my gosh, I mean, it's very expansive. But it was just a bit of pressure that was building up around here. And I thought, I was like, oh, is my ears dirty or something? What's going on or whatever? And so I was telling her about it. She was like, oh, that's your, and I kind of knew that was my lymphatic thing that needs to be drained or whatever. Now, there are herbs that you could take to drain all of that or whatever, but but there's exercises, there's massages that you can do to help alleviate that. And man, she did that thing, and I definitely feel the difference. So learn to take care of yourself, prioritize yourself, especially during this day and time, where there's a lot going on. There's a lot of stress factors on social media, a lot of people who are overly stressed. And we're going to talk about that today and what things you should be doing to make sure you take care of yourself. Yesterday, I tell you, there was this part of me, I really wanted to get online. I really wanted to do a live. And I said, nope, sit your ass down and go take a nap. You need to go to sleep. You don't need to do anything else. You had a long day, go lay down. And sure enough, I did. I went to sleep. Next thing I know, it was midnight. And the only people that was up, it was me and the cat. Cat was looking right at me. I'm looking at the cat. That was it. And I was eating some watermelon. That was it. But anyway, so we're going to have a very interesting conversation in this broadcast today. And we're not going to be, and the thing about us, we're not uptight. Ain't nothing to be uptight about. We ain't at war with anybody. The only thing we are at war on this platform is with willful ignorance. I have started just calling some of these people straight up retarded. Now, I know that's a banned word for some, but I actually grew up in a time, and I'm sure many of you have as well. We used to call certain people retarded. You're acting retarded. And when we say that, or when I say that, that has no reflection on those who have real mental issues, like mental illnesses. I'm not talking about those. In fact, I have a whole lot of respect, and I have an abundance of patience with people who do suffer from those natural causes. That's a totally different class of people, individuals. You know what I mean? But for people who are willingly ignorant, in other words, you are telling them, hey, look this up. It only takes a second. Verify this meme. Before you post it, make sure you verify it. Did you know this? Let's listen to this particular expert, someone who has years of experience in this, not the street hustler. Listen to the expert. And instead, you constantly veer towards those who have very little knowledge. I have no respect for people like that. Absolutely none. And so they are part of a growing class of people that I refer to as the retarded class. And that's just what it is, because they are willfully ignorant. They're willfully ignorant. And you're going to see tonight what I'm talking about. And so we're also going to talk about, we're going to go into later, we're going to talk about just a street report. We're going to look at what has been going on beyond the Karmelo Anthony situation. What is the status of the rest of Black America? And yes, there are some good stories out there as well. So we're going to cover that, and we're going to look at that. So again, that's what this broadcast, that's what we do. This is what we always do. And let's go ahead and get into it. Remember, make sure you check out our sponsor, which is sambatree.com. The website is sambatree.com. This is our way, one of our main ways of addressing these issues that we're talking about. And because we're not just sitting here just talking about the problems. We want to make sure that we are addressing the solutions. We're telling you things you need to do. We talk about disease and how just about all disease, as a famous doctor once said, all disease begins in the gut. And the health condition of your gut has a lot of inspiration or influence on how you think and how you process things. So if you're not taking these bitters, you need to. And I believe this is the last weekend, if I'm not mistaken, because it's still up here, let me refresh this because I want to make sure I ain't giving y'all, oh yeah, it's still up. And there you go. So different bitters. I'm not going to go through all of this, but make sure you check that out. Also, make sure you check out the whole mouth medicine book that my wife just dropped. And that one, we're going to get into that. I'm trying to see if I thought I had like a, shoot. Let's see. I don't have it. I must have closed it out. But anyway, yeah, the whole mouth medicine online book, very, very detailed. And it goes into details about your oral care, dental care, and how to address it naturally, pulling from ancestral African and Caribbean recipes and solutions and all that stuff. Again, these things also have an impact on your mental and the rest of your body health, and so this is the solutions that we provide along with some of these other things as well. So make sure you check it out. The website again is sambatree.com. The website is sambatree.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Again, big shout out to everybody, of course, that's in the chat. As always, I am very much appreciative of each and every one of you who are here. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, as always, I really appreciate that. I don't take that lightly. I'm just a man. As far as I'm concerned, I'm an everyday Joe. And so I don't take lightly that for those of you who are familiar faces, or I would say some of y'all faceless, because I haven't met you personally, but I see your names come up a lot. And I just want to take this time and say thank you from the bottom of my heart for you to take the time to listen to the 2 cents, literal 2 cents that I have to put on the table. And I don't take that lightly at all. I really don't. I really, really don't. And so thank you. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. For those of you who are brand new, welcome. And I hope you enjoy your stay and all the above. I was just out in the store recently and someone recognized me and they were like, hey, and they were smiling. It was a beautiful black woman. She comes up and she was like, I was like, hey, I said, do I know you? I honestly, I don't know, cause I don't assume anything, and she was like, no, you don't know me, but I know you. And she said, yeah, you on the internet. And she said, yeah. And we talked just for very briefly or whatever, but I was like, oh, I appreciate that. And I'm so glad. She said, yeah, I bought some stuff from Samba Tree and all that. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. As dirty as I looked and all that, but that was so wonderful. So if you're watching, Miss April, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Really appreciate you. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this week, there was an interview that dropped that first of all, I have been unfortunately keeping a close eye on a lot of the traffic on social media surrounding this case. There are a lot of things that are being said that are totally not true at all. They're completely false. And we are witnessing the complete meltdown of this culture. Okay. Now, again, just to be clear, the individuals that we are referring to do not reflect the sum total of all black people. I am very heartened to see that there are numbers of black folks like you, like me, where we're beginning to say, wait a minute now, I'm not riding this crazy train anymore. I got some questions. And so I'm very heartened to see that there are a growing number of black folks out here who are waking up to that and are getting off the train and saying, no, enough is enough. And feel that it's okay and see that it is okay to ask questions and to maintain a certain standard, when it comes to how a community is supposed to look. You know what I'm saying? And we're done with pivoting and pushing the blame on the other people. And we recognize those old school values. And I'm going to show something a little bit later, because you're not crazy at all. I have a piece of black history, black American history, where long ago, our people did the same thing that we're doing right now. And I have a piece, I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna put it on the screen a little bit later on. And so that's what we're about. And you are in good company. And we do this out of love. So anyway, let me start off, and then I'm going to get to this interview with the Anthonys. But I want to show you this clip from this young lady, because what she is saying actually kind of summarizes, I know, for what I feel, but I also know what many of you feel as well. And let me go ahead and play this thing. And I keep looking at her face. I'm like, she has a very familiar face, a very familiar face. Let me bring it up on the screen, and then I'll let her play and let her say her piece. But she has a very familiar face to me. And I'm like, I've seen this woman somewhere. I've seen her somewhere. But anyway, let's take a listen to what she has to say on this, and then we're going to continue. Okay, let me make sure I got it rewound, and let's go.
Yesterday, I posted a video about the Karmelo Anthony verdict, and within 24 hours, I'd been called every name in the book. My comments and my inbox are full. I hate my own race. I wish I was white. I'm a traitor. I hate my own people. None of that really surprises me anymore. But I want to ask you something. If someone you love is struggling, are you really showing that you care by letting them outsource the blame, play victim, and refuse to change? Or do you show them real love by telling them the truth, that life is not fair and personal responsibility is the only way forward? I have felt called for a while now to speak directly to Black people in America because I believe in our potential, and that potential only unlocks when we get honest about where we are failing. And a lot of us are fatigued. A lot of people are fatigued. Burning down our own neighborhoods when we don't get the verdict we want, fatigued. Turning criminals into celebrities and calling it solidarity, fatigued. Calling every Black person who disagrees a sellout or a traitor, fatigued. Screaming about Black lives while ignoring the zip codes where Black lives are ended by other Black people every single day, fatigued. Mobbing a grieving family outside a courthouse, fatigued. Chanting, "We're glad Austin's dead" on camera with no shame, fatigued. A city council candidate calling for a murdered teenager to be dug up and stabbed again, fatigued. And then the comments roll into my page telling me that I'm the problem. This is not hate. This is not self-loathing. This is what love actually looks like. Love tells the truth. Love refuses to let people it cares about stay comfortable in something that is killing them. My call to Black America is simple. Get out of your own way. The facts are out there. They are researchable. They are verifiable. And they show that we have enormous room to grow and heal and thrive without waiting on external forces to give us permission or to blame. We are sitting here waiting on a handout, a program, a huge shift in our favor when everything we need starts with looking within. That is what I was pointing at with Karmelo Anthony, a kid with every reason to succeed who still got swallowed by a mentality we refuse to honestly examine. I know I will not reach everyone, but if one person watching this snaps out of it the way that I did, that is enough. So when you come to my comments with the names and the accusations, ask yourself honestly, what exactly are you defending? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a lot less like Black pride and a whole lot like protecting a narrative that is not serving us. Yesterday.
Yes, there you go. That's it. She nailed it. That's it. So it's actually, contrary to what some people want to believe, that they think that as soon as you start talking about some of the negative aspects of this culture, that somehow you hate the people in it. That's far from the truth. See, many of us, people like you, people like me, we grew up in a time where we had parents that did exercise this, demonstrate this literally every day. I had a father who basically, he worked hard. He came home, he was tired or whatever, and he was a very no-nonsense father, but he was also a very loving father. And I say this all the time. He reminded me oftentimes of John Amos in Good Times. Every time I saw John Amos on Good Times, I always say he was literally almost like to me, like a mirror reflection of my dad. But he was a very loving man in his own way. And my mother, the same exact way. That she was very no nonsense too. She was very nice, and especially in her older age, she's like, la, la, la. And then when we have kids, Nicole and I had our children, she's like, oh, don't do that to them and all that. I'm like, wait a minute now, you used to do this to me. And she's like, oh, I did that. Now all of a sudden you don't remember. Now all of a sudden, when the grandchildren come, now all of a sudden you don't remember. I'm like, okay, all right. So you remember that time you took that hot iron? No, I'm just playing. That was a Good Times episode. But anyway, but no, she never did that to me. She never did that to me. But anyway, but yeah, so we came up in a time, many of us here, where we had that it was certain things were expected, of you. And so there was a standard. Now, not everybody didn't have that, but many of us did. But somewhere down the line, the ball was dropped. And as I've said many times, each generation has to share part of the blame on that. We could talk about the heroism of those that grew up during the civil rights era, but we also have to talk about the other parts of it that wasn't so good at all. In fact, that contributed to what we see today. We can also talk about those that in the post-civil rights era, going into the era of, Black power, Black pride, and all of that when we get into the 70s. There was some good things that came out of that. There was also some things where we dropped the ball on that as well. So each generation has its own things that we need to acknowledge and say, you know what, we dropped the ball. But unfortunately, we live in a time right now in this generation where many people do not want to take any kind of responsibility. And it's become a lot easier just to say the words white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, instead of us saying, no, it's our fault. We dropped the ball, So anyway, there was an interview that took place this week. It was with The Root. And this was, I believe, one of the first, if not the first interview since the decision was passed down, regarding Karmelo Anthony as he was sentenced for 35 years in prison. And the reason why they hadn't given an interview prior to that was because, the last time they gave an interview was before the sentencing. But since then, they've been quiet, just like Metcalf. On that side, they're totally silent. So for a whole year, both sides with their support base have been going at it very strong, doing all kinds of stuff, posting all kinds of crazy memes, calling each other names, death threats being given to both sides, right? All kinds of crazy stuff been going on. And can you imagine? Because like I said, let's be clear, both sides have lost the son. On the side of the Anthonys, they have lost the son. Even though he's going to be in prison for a very long time, nonetheless, this is something that will, for the most part, it's going to go with him for the rest of his life still. Where on the other side, I would say the life sentence was actually given to the young man who life was taken away from him by Karmelo Anthony, because the life sentence was actually issued to his family that was left behind, because now they don't have a son or a brother that's around because he's dead. So if you want to know who got the heaviest sentence, it's not Karmelo Anthony. It was actually the young man that is gone. He's no longer here. So let's be clear with that. So anyway, there was an interview that was given and that they did. And this is a clip of this interview. It was about 20 minutes, I think, maybe a half an hour. But this is a clip of the interview. And he says something in this interview that I had to hear it a few times myself, because I was just like, he actually said this out of his mouth. So let me go ahead and play that. Let me pull this up here and get it up here. What's that? Because I have a ton of browsers up, like I always do. If not, I'll just go to my history here. I just had that up. Man, what are you doing? Is this it? Please be it. Oh, there you go. There you go. All right, so here it is right here. Again, this was from the root.com. And let me play that for you. tell you, when you got a ton of browsers up, it's really something. All right, hold on. Which way did it go? Which way did it go? Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Almost there. All right, there we go. Almost there. All right, here we go. Bam. Okay, there you go. Let me go ahead and play it. Take a listen to what the father had to say regarding the case. All right, and the mother.
No objection.
You believe your son received a fair, so do you believe your son received a fair trial?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And we're going to keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We will not stop fighting for justice for my son.
Mm-hmm. And as parents, have you all struggled with guilt, asking yourselves, is there anything differently? I know, Kayla, you said you wish you had gone to that track meet. Is there anything that you both wish you could have done differently?
I wish I would have just been rebellious. I was told, don't talk to this person. Don't talk to this person. I feel like it was just a setup. Now, say they told us, go get white attorneys. Every black person I went to, white attorney. No white attorney, they set them up. Pushed them. Hey, here you go. I mean, no objections. It was things were smooth. So because as a father of me being who I am, I got to make sure she's straight. This mama bear. I got to make sure she's straight mentally, because if she's not straight, my house ain't straight. I'm not straight. Then so because I got the kids to worry about. Got to make sure his mental health. I can't go back and forth with him right in there because his mental can handle it. The misunderstanding of what daddy's trying to tell you. This ain't a daddy moment.
I gotta play it again. I'm gonna play it again, okay? I'm gonna play it again.
Asking yourselves, is there anything differently? I know, Kayla, you said you wish you had gone to that track meet. Is there anything that you both wish you could have done differently?
I wish I would have just been rebellious. I was told, don't talk to this person. Don't talk to this person. I feel like it was just a setup. Now, say they told us, go get white attorneys. Every black person I went to, white attorney. No white attorney, they set them up. Pushed them. Hey, here you go. I mean, no objections. It was things were smooth. So because as a father of me being who I am, I got to make sure she's straight. This mama bear. I got to make sure she's straight mentally.
I'm gonna stop it right there. There's the other stuff he said. I can comment on that too, but I'm gonna stop it right there. Now, I don't know if you really picked up on that, on what he just said. What he said, just to really emphasize that I have to take my time with this. He said that the black people around him told him that he needs to go with a white attorney. Don't go with the black attorneys. They told him he needs to go with a white attorney. Now, we can just stop right there. Just stop right there, because there's a lot more I'm going to say. He said the black people around him told him that he needs not to go with black attorneys, but he needs to go with white attorneys. You need to go with the best. Get a white attorney. Now, let me just say this. If you want to talk about anti-black, that's your exhibit A of anti-black right there. So he was told by all of these people in his circle, the people in his circle, the black folks in his circle, in their inner circle, to not trust black attorneys. Now, just to add a little bit more to that, because I think it was another interview that I heard where the father said that they had black attorneys that came to them and said, we will do it pro bono. They said, we'll do it pro bono, meaning you ain't got to pay us anything. I have to give these guys, and if there were women in there too that was doing it, I have to give them a ton of credit. Especially the ones who basically said, hey, we don't even want your money. You remember all that money that they raised? They weren't coming in with doing the Birdman hand rub and saying, yeah, this is a golden opportunity. You know how many people would do that? But according to him, like I said, this was another interview. They came and said, we don't want your money. These are black folks that were saying this. I really want to emphasize that. They said, we don't want your money. We're just going to do this because we just want to represent and give the best that we can give. But the black people that were around him advised him, don't go with the black folks. Uh-oh, what did I do? You need to go with the white man. You need to go with white people because they're the best. You want to talk about anti-blackness? That didn't start from the judge. That didn't come from the system. That came from niggas. That was street advice, street legal advice. For the law officers of nigga. That's who advised them and told them that. Don't trust them. Now, let me say this. You played a color game. Now, even with that, what am I saying that if he went with a black person, he would be walking scot-free today? Because that's not true either. No, sir. That is not true. If you take the time, honestly, and you look at most cases of if a kid goes into a school with a weapon, gets into a confrontation with that weapon, and someone ends up getting killed by that weapon, pretty much 10 times out of 10, that kid is going to prison. So Karmelo Anthony was going to go to prison regardless. He was going to go to prison. Just on that fact alone. And don't worry, because I know some of y'all been passing around and looking at some of those popular memes. Well, guess what? We're going to look at some of those memes, and I'm going to give you the facts on all the side-by-side comparisons. Why did he get 2 years and he got 35 years, and why did he get... Oh, yeah, we're going to break all of that down. And it's not even hard. And I tell you right off the rip, I don't even pretend to be a legal expert. I always go to the experts like we're getting ready to do right now. So I don't even pretend that, but I know how to look up things. I know how to ask questions. And with the technology, especially today, it only takes seconds. So anyway, let me play. I'll start off with a video that I played in the last broadcast. This was this first video I'm going to play. This is the guy who, oh, that's why I wanted to mention. This is the guy who represented Mr. Chow from the other, the case that took place in Columbia, South Carolina. You know, the guy that owned the Shell gasoline station store and all that, and he unfortunately shot young Cyrus and all that. We ain't got to go through all that, but you know what I'm talking about. Now, here's what's interesting. On one side, you got a black man being told by black people, don't go with black representation. You need to go with white representation. Mr. Chow, who's Chinese, he simply said, I need get me out of jail representation. And guess who he got? A black attorney. Yes, he had a black attorney who's very well known in the legal circuits. They say he's like the next Johnny Cochran. I mean, the dude is very sharp. I'll play his video first because I played it before and I'll play it again because he gives a very good, there's actually 2 videos of his I'm going to play. But he gives a very good breakdown of everything would happen and all of that, right? And he just explains it. Now, everybody that we're going to play this evening, these are people who are actively practicing law. And I'm going to contrast that with what is trending. Because what you're going to see, the lawyers that are trending, a lot of them lost their license. And we're going to show you that. See, that's why I said I have to take time to put some of this stuff together, because I got to look this stuff up and I got to check and make sure, okay, this is valid, that ain't valid, that kind of thing, right? So it does take some time. But anyway, let me pull this video up here. This one is, let's see. This is part of someone's like.
Imagine your Nissan Altima.
This is, this guy, I don't know who he is, never heard of him, never seen him or whatever, but I guess he has his own podcast or whatever. But this is part of a short. I'm not going to play the whole short. I'll just play like the first part of it, because the first part of it actually has the interview, part of the interview. What was it here? Was it in this one here? I think it was, I'm hoping it's this one here. Let's see.
Karmelo's father was asked, anything you regret? Anything you would have done differently?
Just being rebellious. I was told, don't talk to this person. Don't talk to this person. I feel like it was just a setup. Now, so they told us, go get white attorneys. Every black person I went to a white attorney. No white attorney, they set them up. Pushed them.
You already saw that. Okay, here it is. This is the part.
That didn't work. Now here is Rick Child's attorney, and it's very interesting what happened after this Karmelo case.
Listen. Carmelo Anthony trial has ended. The backlash is starting to switch. Yeah. And my social media has got a lot more of, we may hate you, you coon trader, but please go help that poor boy Karmelo. Two, one of the things that I can't, and I mentioned this, Karmelo is a young black man over in Texas, and he hired a white lawyer, and nobody's jumping up and down on him. You know,
right.
Nobody said word about how dare he hire a white lawyer, because as a community, we're fine. It's like, yeah, he had to get the best. He had to get a white lawyer, but Child can't get the best because I'm black. I have to be an Uncle Tom or a token or so forth. But
yep.
There you go.
Yep. See, this is what black.
There you go. There it is right there. There it is right there. And when I tell you that attorney right there, that attorney you just heard, when I tell you these Negroes went hard as I don't know what on him, because he's married to a white woman. So, you know, once that became public, that was a whole wrap. That's all they needed. And they called him all kind of names. They were raking this man up. They were going after his wife, sending him all kinds of crazy stuff. But the thing they couldn't deny is he was able to make a fair and very clear argument in that case that ended up where Mr. Child ended up walking. Regardless if you like the result or not, that's irrelevant. He was able to legally make the argument that Mr. Child, regardless of your personal feelings, he was the one in the courtroom, and he was able to make a fair argument to the judge, to the jury, that what took place that unfortunate evening, it was a legal action. Now, as you know, people had a lot to say about Asian people and all that. They don't like black people and all this other stuff, but he wanted the best, and he got the best. But on the other side, no, we just want white people. We hate white people. We hate white supremacy, but doggone it, we need Mr. Charlie to represent us, because Mr. Charlie is the best. Now, if that ain't the most anti-black nonsense, I don't know what is. And the fact that people not even batting an eye at that, that shows just how disgusting they are mentally. It really does. I mean, you can't even, that right there, it should have just stopped all the nonsense. There should have been a holy hush on social media just on that alone. But of course it wasn't. People just went right along with it like he didn't say anything. That was very significant. Let me go back and play. Now, let me go back to this other video. This is the other video that I played of this same attorney. And he was breaking down the whole thing regarding what does peer mean, because you still got a lot of ignorant folks out here who are still saying that he wasn't judged by a jury of his own peers. Y'all keep saying that over and over again, but you don't even understand the legal term of peer. When I already kind of understood what it meant, but I said, you know what? Let me get the legal term. Let me just start off with that. So that way I'm talking from a legal perspective. I'm not a lawyer, don't pretend to be one, but at least let me familiarize myself with the terminology so that I'm talking from a place where, you know, I know what I'm talking about and it's true. You know what I mean? It's factual. But the individuals that are out here that are still repeating this thing over and over again and saying that he wasn't judged by a jury of his own peers because they were all white, which was not true at all. They were not all white. That was untrue. And the father, this is where I lost complete respect of these parents. Even afterwards, he got up there in an interview and said, the thing that stood out to him, this was another interview he did, I think it was with CBS. He said, the thing that stood out to me the most was it was an all-white jury. That was a pile of horse, you know what? Because that was not, categorically, it was false. That was not true. But for some reason, he's still repeating that. But people's minds are still fixated on it was all white, so therefore it's racist and all this stuff. So anyway, let me pull up this. This is the same attorney. I played this before, but it's worth playing again because he explains what the whole thing legally, what peer means. All right, here we go.
I want to take a moment to correct some erroneous on all counts, some erroneous information about the selection of juries in the United States. One, people are incorrectly, this is legal pundits, this is social media, this is so forth, and I like people to understand and have knowledge. The mind grows bigger, the mind grows flowers, much milk, knowledge is power. You are not entitled to a fair jury under the United States Constitution. People keep saying that. You're entitled to a fair jury. You are not. You're entitled to an impartial jury is what the Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution. And so when we think about that, people say the following, well, you're entitled to a jury of your peers. Where this comes from is this comes from the Magna Carta, because what used to end up happening was they would bring in, colony and so forth, they'd bring in professional juries, professional jurists, who were elitists who would look their nose down at everybody and stand in judgment. And finally we said, nah, we're not going to do that. We want an impartial jury who is picked from a cross-section of the community in which the crime actually occurred. And so when people are out there and saying that you deserve a jury of people who dress like me, walk, talk, and act like me, and just might be the next best thing, but not quite me, you know those lyrics. That's not it. You're not entitled to a jury of people who look like you. You're entitled to a jury of the community. You're entitled to that, the community. And so people say, what does that mean and how do you challenge that? Hear me. The way you must challenge it, if you want to challenge it, you can't challenge the last 12 people who are in the box. The challenge must come earlier. What ends up happening is well before court happens, the clerk of the jurisdiction will send out notice to a cross-section of the community. Let's say she gets 300 people in, and you as an attorney are looking at this and saying, wait a minute, the studies show that this community is 40% African-American, 30% Hispanic, 20% white, yeah, whatever that math is. And when I look at this panel, it's 90% white folks. And so what you have to do is at that point in time, you must make a challenge. You'll probably have to bring in experts. You have to bring in a lot and show this is not a fair cross-section of the community. And if you allow this court to pick a jury from this people, you're going to end up with 12 blank, whatever the race may be. That's how you challenge. Challenging after you pick the 12, that's not the cause. That's not it. And one of the reasons why that doesn't help is anybody's ever watched is, sadly, it almost doesn't matter how angry somebody could literally get on the jury with a swastika and a tattoo that says, I hate black folks on the front of their forehead. And the judge says the following, sir, do you believe that you can still be fair and impartial? Yeah, I can be impartial. they're on. And then that's why we have those what are called peremptory strikes, where the defense attorney can say, I just want to get rid of that person right there. Now, what the case law, Constitution, Batson versus Illinois, JB versus Kentucky, what they guarantee is not that you get a fair, but that you get an impartial, but it also stands to reason that a prosecutor cannot simply exclude somebody because of their race. Not the panel, the 12 people who are coming up to be chosen. You cannot just exclude people based upon race. What the case law says is you must have a race neutral reason for why you excluded that person, and you couldn't have put anyone else on who was similarly situated. What does that mean? Somebody comes up, African-American female, the prosecutor says, please excuse the juror. At the end of that selection, the defense attorney says, Your Honor, we have what's called a Batson challenge. We think all they excluded were black people. Judge, prosecutor, why did you excuse that African-American lady? Your Honor, we excluded every teacher from that jury because we didn't want any teachers. Judge, well, it looks like you excluded every teacher. That's it. If they have a race neutral reason, I didn't like his hat, so I excluded him. Make sure you have a facially valid race neutral reason, and then a lot of times the court will be like, good enough. So do I believe a challenge just based upon the fact that you do not have African Americans on your jury will work on an appellate court? No. And because the other thing you will have to do is you'll have to prove that the 12 people who were selected, who were on the jury, had racial animus. And and that's going to be hard to prove. And you're going to have to prove that they could not be fair and impartial and were.
Let me stop there because I want to make sure you hear that part. Because
prosecutor, why did you excuse?
Hold on, let me go back. Sorry, I want you to hear this part because I know there's a lot of people out there that's saying, "Oh, he's going to go." They're going for appeal. They got a new lawyer, and then they're going to go for appeal. Okay. Now, when you look that up, in cases like this, there is less than a 1% chance of success with an appeal when it comes to cases like this, because what you're challenging. Because I know that, okay, I was going to mention this too. Like, for example, the father, Metcalf's father, some of y'all seen the clip or whatever where the father called Karmelo Anthony, he said, a watermelon felon. And so people are like, oh, see, there you go. There you go. There you go. And I'll get back to that a little bit later. I'll talk about that because I do want to talk about that. And they're saying, see, that's going to work well for this. When they appeal it, they can use that. No, they cannot. Legally, you cannot. Once the decision has been handed down, it doesn't matter if he says anything crazy or if the other side, if they say something crazy. Once the decision has been handed down, that's it. When you're making an appeal to a decision, what happens is what you're challenging are the technical things. And the technical things are like how you selected the jury. Did that meet the requirement? Maybe the instructions that you gave to the jury. Did that meet the state or legal requirement? You're challenging the technical stuff, not it's all white, so therefore we got to throw it out. You cannot do that. Now, in street justice, yeah, you can. But we're not dealing with street justice. We're dealing with the justice of the court system. And what you got a lot of people doing is they're trying to apply street justice to the actual real court system. And it doesn't work. It won't work. Anyway, so I wanted to really expound on that. And he touches on that briefly here, but let him finish talking here.
American lady, Your Honor, we excluded every teacher from that jury because we didn't want any teachers. Judge, well, it looks like you excluded every teacher. That's it. If they have a race neutral reason, I didn't like his hat, so I excluded him. Make sure you have a facially valid race neutral reason, and then a lot of times the court will be like, good enough. So do I believe a challenge just based upon the fact that you do not have African Americans on your jury will work on an appellate court? No. And because the other thing you will have to do is you'll have to prove that the 12 people who were selected, who were on the jury, had racial animus. And and that's going to be hard to prove. And you're going to have to prove that they could not be fair and impartial and were not fair and impartial, because guess what? The judge asked them the question, can you be fair and impartial? They said yes. In the federal system, we've talked about this before, in the federal system, and one of the reasons the federal government gets so many more convictions than the state government is they pick their jury from voter registration because they know that's going to be a more conservative group of jurists. And so that's why I tell everybody, go vote so you can be registered to vote. In the state system, they pick you from your DMV driving record, and that way they can get more of a cross-section. So sometimes in the jury system, once they have picked it in the federal system and we look down and we're like, this is not a fair cross-section, we can go to the federal court and say, Judge, we are making a request that you pick this jury from the DMV records because we think that will give us a more fair cross-section of the community. So that's what people need to say. So do I think the challenge was laid down properly? No. If you look at the Alec Murdaugh case, people remember that case. You look at those lawyers, they're good lawyers, Maggie Fox, Dick Harpootlian, Jim Griffin. They looked at this case and they went back and interviewed the jurors and they saw the level of bias that these jurors have. So that's how they were able to cross that Rubicon to say that this was not a impartial jury because they were tainted by old Becky Hill. So in the Karmelo Anthony trial and some of the other, just saying that you have 12 folks who do not dress like me, walk, talk, act like me, and just might be the next best thing, that's not enough. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Might not be what people think, but them's are the rules.
There you go. There you go. There you go. I saw something say Unk Alert. I don't know what that means, but I hope that's a good thing. Anyway, I've never seen that before. It's something popped up there. I don't know if y'all saw that. And again, I don't know if that's, it's that. Oh, they said Pamela Williams sent an Unk Alert. I guess that's a good thing. I'll put a heart there or whatever. All right. Well, good to see you, Pamela. Good to see you. I honestly don't know if it means if there's like you put something in the tithes and offerings. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've never seen that before. But anyway, I hope you guys understand what he's saying. And that was something I actually learned. I didn't know that. I didn't know, until after I heard him say that, where he was talking about there's a difference in how the state pulls from the jury for a jury versus the federal government. One pulls from the DMV, which will get you, I think that he was saying that the federal government does that because that gives you more of a cross section of the people because everybody's got a driver's license, right? Everybody does that, but not everybody. They said it as a gift. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. Anyway, thank you. And so that's the feds. The feds use the driver's license because everyone's got it. So you have a higher probability of getting a cross section of the community. Now, when it comes to the state, well, they go by voter record. But that's where a lot of people don't contribute. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they don't even bother registering. Now, I've always said on here, if you're going to register to vote, you should at least register to vote just to participate maybe in the local elections. But I said, when you start getting to the state level, even in national or federal level, a lot of that stuff is already decided anyway. But I never tell people don't vote. That's up to you. You know what I mean? Just know what's attached to it, whatever. So anyway, so I thought that was really neat. Now, Coach, you mentioned, I saw in the comments there, you mentioned the lead attorney, because I want to play that. Now, that video is about half an hour long, so we're not going to play all of it. I'm just going to play enough of it to get you guys to be interested enough to hear what he has to say. And like Coach mentioned, this video that lead attorney did was actually done a year ago. He didn't just do this video. This video was done like 11 months ago. And when I tell you it was just as accurate then as he is now, I mean, it's just what it is. These are the people that they, meaning the Anthonys, wanted to avoid. They didn't want these people talking in their ear. They wanted Mr. Charlie to talk into their ear. Ain't it sad? But you gotta acknowledge this stuff. You got to acknowledge it. You got to point it out. Anyway, let me see if I can get that video up. Give me just a moment. Let's see. Did I share that with? I cannot. Anyway, let me see. Did I bookmark it? Let's see. Oh, here it is. 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 Okay, here we go. Okay, I got it now. I got it. Right here. Here you go. Lead attorney. Video was done 11 months ago, according to this. Like I said, again, we're not going to play the whole thing. It's like 22 minutes long. But I just strongly encourage you to listen and watch this entire video at your leisure. All right. So let me go ahead and play, some of it here.
Many of you were surprised at a point that I made in my last video on how Karmelo Anthony's family has actually costed Karmelo extra years in prison. So many extra years. You wanted me to expound on that further because you had not heard anyone make that point. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm giving you the perspective not of a YouTuber reacting to news, but of an attorney who's practiced for more than 20 years. This is behind the scenes info, so let's get to it. Now, let me explain on how Karmelo's mother basically sentenced her own son Karmelo to an extra 10 to 30 more years in prison and what she can do about it now to try to...
Y'all, this was done a year ago. And how many years did he get? 30, was it 30, 39 years? Something like that. He's right on the money. Anyway.
Fix it. I explained in my last video that Karmelo's mother apparently hired a family spokesperson, one Dominique Alexander.
Yep.
This Dominique calls himself a minister of justice, whatever that is. Dominique is a convicted felon. He's alleged to have beaten his girlfriend. Then he got a new girlfriend, and when that girlfriend left out of the apartment, the good minister grabbed that woman's 2-year-old baby and shook him until that baby got brain damage. The good minister pled guilty in that case to felony charges and was in prison. Now, this is the man that Karmelo's mom chose to speak on Karmelo and the family's behalf. The good baby shaking minister. The minister did exactly what you would expect a convicted felon to do when handling Karmelo's case. He absolutely destroyed it. How? He ostracized the most important person in Karmelo's case. Now, who is that? Is that the judge? No. Is that the prosecutor? No. The most important person alive in Karmelo's case is actually Jeff Metcalf, the father of the young man that Karmelo Anthony killed, Austin Metcalf. The father, Jeff Metcalf, is the linchpin to Karmelo's entire future. Let me tell you that in a murder case where the victim is gone, the case lives on through the victim's next of kin. When a parent has to bury his child, everyone looks to that parent to gauge how to react. Judges consciously and subconsciously look at the parent's facial expression when they're testifying on the witness stand. Prosecutors run all their plea offers through the parents. Reporters knock on the parents' doors for statements, and they aim their cameras at the parents when the verdicts drop. And the jurors, oh my goodness. The jurors hang on every word of the parents. Notice every little movement, every gesture. In this case, Jeff Metcalf, the father, is not just a spectator in the case. He's the conscience of the entire community. If you win Jeff, you win all the sympathy. But if you alienate him, you can go to prison for life. Now, months ago, Jeff Metcalf, the father, he did something unthinkable. Reporters, as they always do, shoved a microphone in this grieving father's face and asked him, "How do you feel about this Karmelo Anthony?" Do you know what he said? Jeff Metcalf said, and I quote, "You know what? I've already forgiven this person. Already." Now, that is amazing. It's amazing that Jeff would have the strength to do that because I would be incapable of that. The maturity maturity, the wisdom, the strength. I just would not have it. Now, that baby shaking minister is not going to know this, but when a father makes a statement like that, a statement of forgiveness, the entire Karmelo team has to drop everything.
Yep.
This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Your entire legal strategy has to change. I can tell you as an attorney that you call an emergency meeting with all the lawyers, all the family, maybe PR consultants if the family has means for that. You bring everyone together to get them on the same page and let them know that this case will revolve around one person, Jeff Metcalf, the father. So when Karmelo's mother heard what Jeff said about her son, what do you think that this lady did? She handed the microphone at a press conference to the baby shaking minister of justice. And at that press conference where Jeff Metcalf showed up to pray with the family, the baby shaking minister called the police and had Jeff kicked out. Like, can you believe it? They kicked Jeff Metcalf, who came there to pray. They kicked him out of the press conference. The entire spectacle went viral within an hour. And do you know what else? Karmelo Anthony's prison sentence was prolonged by 10 to 25 years within that same hour. Now, why do I say that? What did the family show Jeff in that instance? Jeff, the father. They showed Jeff that there was no remorse. They showed Jeff that there would be no mutual prayers. There would be no reconciliation. Showed that man nothing but hostility and aggression. The same hostility, the same aggression maybe that was at that track meet that fateful afternoon, that was under that tent. Some of you are not going to appreciate how important this father is. You just don't know how these criminal sentences work. I see your comments on YouTube and Twitter. You think, oh, this person killed that person, so put the killer in prison and throw away the key. Put him there for life. That's what you guys say. You have no idea. I will tell you that people kill people all the time, and the sentences range from insanity on the low end to insanity on the high end. Now, who controls where the sentence is going to fall? At the end of the day, it is the sentiment of the community that will decide. And in this case, Jeff Metcalf is at the center of that entire community. Now, let's do this. Let's suppose it is your first day.
I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop it there because I didn't want to play all of it there. It's like I said, the video is about 20 minutes. It's like 22 minutes long, but I would highly recommend you watch that entire video. Highly. Again, he did this video 11 months ago. And thank y'all for pointing that out, because I was like, was it 39 years? It was 35 years that he was sentenced. Now, if you continue to watch it, he actually gives proper comparisons. Not this, you got a white guy and you got a black guy, and I'm going to put them side by side. Lincoln, the white guy only got this, and the black guy, he got this. See, I'm telling you, it's racism. It's racism. It's racism. No, he didn't do that. So you just, like I said again, keep watching the video, and he's going to show you how in some cases you had black folks who got less, and then other people got more, right? But what he's saying is this, and I'm just going to give you just a brief overview of everything else he said in the video, but please watch it. What he was saying was, and you heard what he was saying was, when the father came in, and we did a video on that, I said, this jackass that they got speaking, because that was already, the info was already out on this jackass minister. I remember, because we did a video on it, I was talking about him. I said, whoever got in that, and one of the things I said in the video, I said, y'all, some of y'all gonna get mad at me. I said, but I'm looking at who's really wearing the pants and all of this. I said, it's the mother. I said, the mother is the one that's really the driver in this. Because you saw during that press conference, and even now, what was the father doing? He's all in the back like this, ain't half saying anything. Because I talked about that. And then, he rubbing her back and then dotting her eye, making sure the tears don't mess up her makeup and all that. He was doing all of that. And I was like, let me hear what the father got to say. Oh, nothing. Hardly anything. And meanwhile, she just emoting all over the place. I understand she's a grieving mother in the sense of grieving that her son is in this predicament. But man, you ain't got nothing to say. And that going back to the interview that I played earlier, where he was saying, my number one goal is to make sure she's happy. No, your number one goal is to make sure that you are getting the right counsel, because if you straight, the whole house is straight. But what you did was you trying to please everybody, but ended up going the wrong way, and it made your son get 35 years. Because your counsel was telling you, don't go with black lawyers. If you're just joining in, go back to the earlier part of this video. He said that out of his own mouth. He said the black people around him were telling him, do not go with a black lawyer. Don't go with black attorneys. You need to get some white representation. He said that. I didn't say that. He said that. So anyway, what happens? So, what was it? What was I saying? As far as the, let's see. Okay, so anyway, let me just move right along here. So what ends up happening is, of course, the sentence gets passed and all of that. And what the lead attorney was saying, along with some of the other people like Nate, the lawyer, just go into our post on our community page. I list 4 different legal black folks, people who practice law, and they are legal. They didn't get it revoked. They're legal. All of them came to the same conclusion. And what they were saying, if you listen to them, they said, like I said earlier, if you are an individual, a student, and you bring it, because every black folks were saying, well, in the state of Texas, it's legal to have a knife. So case closed. He was legally having a knife. That's not true. Follow your own logic and listen to what you're saying. If you're going to follow your logic all the way out, it is legal in the state of Texas to carry a gun, right? It's legal. But you notice that you don't see them in schools, right? Well, you shouldn't see them, because the school has their own rules. So what may be legal in the state, if the school says, hey, you can't bring weapons in here, that's what trumps whatever the state says. So by your logic, kids should be able to bring guns into school because it's legal in the state of Texas. See, and I'm sitting up here like, do you not play all the way out what comes out of your mouth? Because a lot of people don't do that. They just say stuff. Well, it's legal in the state of Texas, so therefore he was in the right. No, it was not legal for him to have it in the school. So so he was already in the wrong. So by him even having it on school grounds, he was already cooked. And like I said earlier, if you look at all of these cases where a student brings in a weapon into the school and someone gets killed as a result of it, pretty much is a done deal. It's a wrap. They are going to jail. Now, how much time they're going to jail? Well, that depends on the number of factors. And what I'm going to do in a minute, I'm going to show you cases that are very similar to the Karmelo Anthony case. Very similar. You're not going to find anybody doing memes on this because why? It doesn't fit a narrative. But see, we ain't playing the narratives tonight. We're going to destroy these narratives with truth. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But I'm going to show you where it varies on a number of factors. One of the factors is the plea deal. Now, I was listening to one attorney was saying that there's no doubt in my mind that the Anthonys were offered a plea deal. Because in the plea deal, if they had taken the plea deal, that would have reduced, more than likely, it would have reduced his sentence from 35 years to probably 7, maybe even 10 years. So number one, he was going to go to jail regardless. That was going to happen. That was already a done deal. Any honest lawyer would have told him that. He is going to jail. Now, if there was a plea deal that was taken, that they was able to get from that time, more often than not, would have been reduced greatly. But what did the law offices of nigga, what did they tell him? It ain't his fault. He was just protecting himself. He was standing his ground. He had the legal right to sit there, even though 15 or so people told him to get up. He could sit anywhere he want. He ain't got to listen to anybody. Hey, this ain't the 1960s. This ain't Jim Crow. You can sit wherever you want. Follow the logic all the way out. So what you're saying is I can go to Mr. White's house next door, go in his backyard, sit my ass down at his pool. I could just sit there because this ain't Jim Crow anymore, and I can sit wherever I want. Follow your own logic all the way out. It makes no sense. It doesn't. So what did the law offices of nigga tell him? What did they advise? No, you're going to press on, and if they even offer a plea deal, don't take it. Once you did that, that sent a whole signal to the court and everything else. Oh, he don't care. Well, he's cooked. We're just going to go ahead and give him, he's going to get more time. And everything that lead attorney just said in that video, if you watch the rest of it, when I tell you he was accurate on what happened, that's exactly what happened. They listened to the law offices of nigga, and they failed because they wanted to prove a point. And they failed. That's what happened. Now, let me bring up this meme here. Give me just a moment here because I want y'all to see this meme. Give me just a moment because this is one that a lot of people have been passing around. And let's see, that would be on my desktop. Here we go. I'll play that for you. Not play it, but let me show it to you. There we go. All right, so take a look at this. This is a meme that has been floating around on social media, and people just take a cursory view of this right here. And based off of this, that means the entire system is racist. The entire system hates black people just based off of this, and that's it. I told y'all, I said, when you get ignorant, non-reading, illiterate people, and I'm not just talking about black people, whoever falls into that category, you fall into it. But when you get them and you match them with AI, I said it's going to be some dangerous stuff that's going to come out, like what we're seeing here. Now, on the cover, anybody who doesn't take the time to read and to investigate and to ask questions, this looks like an open and shut, doesn't it? But like on platforms like X, we got a lot of criticisms about X or Twitter, you know, how it's run and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of people on there saying the hard R on there. They're saying a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of crazy stuff on that platform, right? But the one thing I can say I appreciate it is that they have a little button on there for Grok. Grok is like ChatGPT. And you literally can press the button and say, is this true? And it would, in seconds, prove what's right, that is accurate, or it's not. And it'll give you all the links to support based off of its quick investigation. All right. So anyway, this is a meme that's been floating around, and a lot of people have been running with this, right? So let me now pull up this here, and we're going to leave that in the corner here, and let's look at the truth, okay? And you're going to see that it's not as straightforward as a lot of people are trying to make it to be, all right? So let me pull that up here. Actually, I believe I took a screenshot of that, so let me get that here. Okay. There we go. I'll make it bigger for you so you can see it. Okay. All right. So let me do this here. All right. So people were bringing up Casey Allison. All right. 10 years because the jury did not convict him of murder. Why were the sentences different? Were different. Allison was accused of stabbing Joe Ramirez during the school bathroom fight. He admitted to the stabbing and claimed self-defense. But the jury did not find him guilty of murder or manslaughter. They convicted him of criminally negligent. I told you that's that one word have hard to say. Homicide, which basically means the jury found that he caused the death through an extreme carelessness or reckless judgment, but did not find that he intentionally committed murder. Reporting says that the video showed Ramirez throwing a punch first, which likely mattered to the jury. Now, I'll just, like I said, this is a very quick analysis that I'm going to, I'll just, just sort of give you a little bit more clarity, just so you can fully understand. So basically, there was a fight on school grounds between two individuals, right? So when you read it, it's like, okay, this sounds just like that story, and it does. Now, when you read what happened, like they said, in this particular fight, Ramirez, the young man who lost his life in this, he was stabbed several times, not just one time, several times. But what you find out, if you keep reading, it says that Ramirez actually threw a punch at him, right? He threw the first punch. So he was already throwing blows at this other guy, which the jury saw that as, okay, this is a full-scale attack. And so this guy, Kason Allison, he pulls out his knife to protect himself. Now, did he get jail time for that? Absolutely. I told you, he still went to prison. That didn't change. However, what's a little bit different with this is that it doesn't, based off of his reaction, he was reacting based on, you remember what I said about, when you say self-defense, that would fall more under the self-defense cloud, because he was actually being physically attacked, right? So that's different than the Karmelo Anthony situation. And there are some other variables as well. Like I said, again, we're not going to get all into the weeds of it. I'm just giving you kind of a cursory overview so that you can get a better understanding of the differences between these cases. All right. So Karmelo Anthony, of course, they said Anthony admitted to stabbing Austin Metcalf and claimed self-defense. But the jury rejected that argument and found him guilty of murder. Witness accounts reported by NBC DFW Dallas-Fort Worth said that Anthony was asked to leave a team tent, open his bag, and warn, touch me and see what happens. And then stabbed Metcalf after Metcalf pushed him. He didn't punch him. He simply pushed him. This was verified, and they said I think it was out of the 6 witnesses, 5 of them, but and it's all going to come out at some point anyway. I think they say 5 of them were all black. The witnesses were. So there goes that whole theory that everybody in the courtroom was literally white. That was a complete and utter lie. And I know Tariq Nasheed is out here doing what he does best, checking people's hairlines when he should be checking his own hairline, which he spray paints on. But the ignorant that follow him, they never want to talk about that. But anyway, he's checking hairlines and saying these are Africans or these are Caribbeans and all that. They always do this. They always do this. But 5 out of the 6, the numbers it's around that. But a majority of the witnesses, the students that were there, they too were around Anthony and saying, you need to get the hell up out of here. Now there was no physical contact, but that's what they did. Now, what Metcalf did, should he have touched him? No, I don't think, and you'll listen to these other attorneys, they say the same thing. There should have been no physical contact. Metcalf should have just went to whoever was in authority and say, hey, listen, this guy shouldn't be in here. We done told him repeatedly he needs to get up out of here, and he won't move. That's what what should have happened. But pushing somebody and then returning, I'm going to basically stab you in the heart, that does not meet the standard of self-defense, because if he pushed him, then naturally the standard would have been, the response would have been, he should have just pushed him back. Not, I'm going to push you, he pushed me, and then my response is I'm going to stab you straight in the heart. Well, the jury is looking at that like, okay, that was intentional. That's how they look at that. So that's why there's the difference there, okay? So anyway, so that's that. Like I said, again, there's more we can get into on that, but I will say over and over again, I am not a legal expert, but I know how to read and I know how to use my brain, and I'm just giving you this stuff. And like I said, you can look this stuff up yourself and it will break it down for you very easily within seconds, okay? All right, here we go. Alec Adamson, 4 years because the jury convicted him of aggravated assault, not murder. Adamson was originally on trial for first-degree murder in the shooting death of David Pleasant. Now, this story I'm not that familiar with, so I'll tell you out the gate. I don't know if this took place on a school campus or not, but anyway, but the jury convicted him of a lesser included offense of aggravated assault and gave him 4 years. It was reported that he also had more than 2 years of jail credit already, making him immediately parole eligible. That one is probably the hardest for regular people to understand because a person died. But legally, the jury did not return a murder conviction. They returned a lower conviction. Now, there's other factors in there. You can kind of get into more as to why that is. But simply because, oh, he was white, so therefore we're going to give him a lesser charge. No, there are other factors. You got to get into that on why they gave him the lesser charge. Okay? Now, am I going to sit up here and say that there are certain juries out here that will go soft on white people, or they will go soft? Yes, that does happen. That does happen. It still happens. Even in 2026, you will see that, unfortunately, we live in a world that it does that. I have said repeatedly that we do have a very unbalanced and very corrupt justice system. I've said that over and over again. That's very true. However, there are numbers of examples for the most part. The mean is when we're talking about these cases here, some of these cases, many of these cases, it has very little to do with race. That's the people outside making it about that. Okay. Likewise, when you have all black juries, did you ever hear of this term? Is a term called downtown juries. I would encourage you to look it up. Again, it's called downtown juries. Downtown juries, that's kind of a term that's used in the lawyer circuit when you're dealing with juries that are made up of mostly black folks or brown people. And downtown juries, it's known, if a jury is labeled as a downtown jury, it's kind of known that, unfortunately, the person that's a defendant more than likely is going to get off. So I encourage you to look that up so you have it on both sides. Okay, so just wanted to bring that up. It goes all around. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. So I have those other. So look that up. Listen to these individuals who are actually licensed and know what the hell they're talking about. Not these individuals here. Let me see if I can bring some of this up here. So they love to bring up some of these people here, and then we're going to make the connection to health. I'm going to bring that up here, okay? Let's see. I'll bring this up here. Okay, this individual here. Never heard of this dude here. The video is like 2 minutes long. I don't know if I can even stomach that much of it, but I'll play just a little bit of it. And we can listen to, and then I'll tell you about this gentleman here, okay? Give me just a moment. Let me play this video. Take a listen.
Several years ago, working with the city of Frisco on a certain project. But I'm Christopher King. My handle is KingCast online. I'm also a journalist. And I have a couple things for you briefly. Today, I have filed my request for all exhibits used at trial. We'll see how that turns out. I had mailed it in before with a self-addressed stamped envelope. Didn't get a response, so I figured I'd fly down here and file it in person this time. So as to this trial, what I see as an attorney, I saw what I believe to be malpractice. And I don't know why it happened, but I will tell you a couple of quick reference points. Number one, he allowed those students young people, not professional people, to testify as to ultimate issues of fact, such as, was it murder or not? Yes. Was there provocation? Karmelo provoked him. That's not how it works. You have to make them elocute as to what Karmelo did to allegedly provoke a situation. That's how it works. And when you don't object to it in the cases in chief, you cannot come back later post hoc and then ask the judge and complain about it in a jury charge. There were also no expert witnesses produced, no use of force expert, no jury professional consultant.
Anyway, he goes on. Like I told you, I can only stomach but so much. But let me show you guys just how easy it is just to find out info, basic info. Okay. Now, the one thing that says up here, Christopher King, a formal licensed attorney. That should be a huge red flag to you. This guy giving all this legal whatever he's giving. Let's find out together why he's a former licensed attorney. All right. I'm going to put this up here. Let's see. Why is, what's his name? Christopher King, a former licensed okay. Y'all should see that on your screen, right? Look how easy this is. Let's just find out. Let's find out within seconds. All right. In 1998, the Ohio Supreme Court suspended him for 1 year with probation mentorship conditions after finding of violations, including engaging in conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or misrepresentation. Conduct prejudicial to the administration of justice. Conduct adversely reflecting on fitness to practice law. Other issues like improper actions that could harass or injure another party, concealing required disclosures, and improper communications with represented parties. The case stemmed from a scheme in a slip and fall lawsuit where King, representing a client, and another attorney, Samuel Pope, orchestrated a recorded phone call. Pope posed as a prospective landlord to elicit potentially defamatory statements from his client's former landlord's office manager, which King then used to amend the complaint to add a slander claim. The court viewed this as a deceptive sham. It goes on, y'all. I'm not going to read all of it, but that right there, that's a red flag. Sit your ass down. You don't have anything to say. Bailiff, you need to go. Just go sit down. Go sit down. You have nothing at all to contribute. Nothing. But these people are being pushed to the front lines to basically say that, yeah, that they are, they're experts, street experts. Anyway, let's move on here. And as I'm moving on, let's see, I'm just going to pull up. We're going to talk about the health aspect here. But as I'm moving on that, let me mention this, the health aspect, as I'm moving on that. Hold on. Let me see. Do I talk about the health aspect first? Oh, let me mention this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me bring this up first. Oh, you know what? Sorry, y'all. Sorry. I know I'm getting all over the place here. Let me mention this instead. There has been numbers of people who have been saying, well, why is it that the Congressional Black Caucus aren't saying anything? You know, we got all this stuff going on in the Congressional Black Caucus. They're not saying a doggone thing. The Congressional Black Caucus, they're not saying anything. You notice how quiet they are. I thought they were in our corner. Let me help you to understand how politics works, okay? What's really going on here. Now, I have a whole boatload, if not more, of criticism towards the Congressional Black Caucus. I have long canceled them out as any kind of real representation for Black Americans. I don't even hold them in that regard, so I'm not asking them for a doggone thing. Never have, never will, and I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? So I don't look to them anything, but people have this love-hate relationship with the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, and all these other organizations, and Al Sharpton and all these other people. If they could dig up Jesse Jackson, they would do that too. And you know, why they ain't saying nothing? But then they'll criticize them every time. But then soon something happens. Why we're not hearing from them? It's like this love-hate relationship they have. And so anyway, the reason why the Congressional Black Caucus isn't saying anything is this. Many of them, you know, Congress people, they actually have law degrees. And if you have a law degree, that means you're very familiar with the law. Now, like I said, I have taken the time to to really listen to people, regardless if they're black or white, who are legal practitioners of law. Okay? I've taken my time. I've done my homework to listen to that. I ain't listening to these jive-ass turkeys that are out here on the street, giving this street legal, advice. They don't know what they're talking about, Tim Black. They don't know what they're talking about. It's all raw emotion, but they're just taking snippets of here and there. No, from all over the place. But they're not going to the actual people. And I mentioned Tim Black because it was really interesting because, he's going extra hard on this. He posted a video where, like I said, again, there's a whole list of black attorneys. There's a woman, too. She's also an attorney. Maybe if I have time, I'll play that. She was saying the same thing. That Lead and all these other people were saying the same thing. Same exact thing. Same conclusions. Now, these people may be boule, they may be whatever, but they are still saying the same thing because they are familiar, they understand the law, they practice the law. So when we're talking about people, the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, for example, they are in a world where they're working every day with other people who practice and are familiar with the law. As I told you, across the board within the legal world, they looked at this case and said, this is an open shut. This dude was going to go to prison regardless. There's no other way around it. Now, you got some people like Jasmine Crockett, who happens to have a law background and all of that as well. She was just throwing some shots out there, but she's about out of there anyway because she's been elected out of office, but she's just playing out her term. So, yeah, so she's got some capital where she can kind of say whatever she wants. But for most part, you notice they've been very silent. They haven't said anything. Why? Because they're not going to waste their capital on a case like this. Because they're trying to maintain, because if you were to throw your capital around this case, the people that you're trying to work with, impress, or whatever, they're going to look at you like, you really trying to back that? Everybody knows that's not even worth it. It really isn't. You're going to throw you're going to put all, and they're not. So they don't. But you notice what they're doing. Because, see, let me tell you something. Politically, because I know, y'all, I've been following this very closely for over 20 years. Okay, very closely. And I know how these people operate. Politically, something like this, of this magnitude that we're talking about with the Karmelo Anthony thing, all of this angst, this nuclear bomb of emotion in the black community, members of the Congressional Black Caucus would have jumped all over this. Plus, you're in a year of midterms. They would have jumped all over this to monetize it, to politicize it, to get black people riled up enough so that they're saying, and this is why you need to vote for us. But they haven't done that. They've left it alone. But instead, let me tell you, what have they been doing? Because they know that would be ridiculous to even back this thing. What have they been doing? Well, they made a very strange move. All of a sudden, they're now, all of them in unison, are talking about a topic that they've been running away from for years. What's that topic? Reparations. Now, all of a sudden, it's about reparations. They're holding press conferences, going on interviews, talking about this is why we need to press for reparations and all of that. Now, all of a sudden, literally, when you could use this gift, this golden apple of black anger around this Karmelo Anthony thing, you refuse it? That is unheard of in black politics. I've never seen that. But I just explained to you why they're leaving it alone, because they understand the law. So they're going to pivot to something else that they think that they're going to be able to rally black people around, and that's reparations. But you and I already know, we've already talked about that. The brand of reparations they're talking about includes the Rainbow Coalition. So that's not going to go anywhere. And for the other reasons that we talked about, while reparations itself is not going to go anywhere in this system. It just isn't. But that's what's really happening. So I'm just trying to enlighten you and letting you know what's really going on. So when you're in your little bubble and you're just like, oh, they just all under control and all that. No, not necessarily. You know, there's a lot of things we can accuse them of, but this right here, they're not stupid. They're not stupid. They know very well, and many people within the legal system who have chimed in on this case, they also agree that the outcome was inevitable, especially with the actions that the family took. They already know. All right, so anyway, let's move on. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay, so you're not going to find people making memes off of this. So I did a search. Again, I'm no expert here. I'm no expert. You can do this yourself. I did a search. I said, now what I could have did was to say, pull me cases in Texas to make it even more like centered. But, you know, I just, short on time. And I said, just give me cases from wherever, right? So I wanted to look for cases that are very similar to the Karmelo Anthony case, where a student brought a knife to school and committed a crime where someone died. And what was the outcome? Okay, so there are people out here that are basically saying that this injustice system only hands out stuff to black people and black people only, and that's it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this right here proves all of that wrong. All right, so I may not get this first name right. We'll just say Eduardo Marmolejo. I guess I said that right. And this is in Memphis, Tennessee. I don't have a date on this, but it will even give you links so you can look this up yourself if you're interested. At 16, Marmolejo fatally stabbed Suzette York, the principal teacher at Memphis Junior Academy, in a classroom. Prosecutors said he had sharpened his knife and planned the attack. And the result of that was second-degree murder. He got 35 years for that. And he took a plea, and that's even with a plea deal, because that was very intentional. Am I saying this is a carbon copy of Karmelo Anthony? No, I'm not saying that at all. But the basics are there, all right? Eduardo, let's just say he wasn't black. And Andy Rodriguez, Coral Gables, Florida. At 17, Rodriguez stabbed classmate Juan Carlos Riviera during a fight at Coral Gables Senior High School. Reports say that the fight began after a shoving match and escalated into multiple stab wounds. He got convicted of second-degree murder. Well, guess what he got? 40 years plus 10 years of probation. Oh, they're not going to make a meme of that because it doesn't fall into the narrative. Abraham Lopez, I'm seeing a pattern here. These Hispanic dudes, they like them knives, man. Southgate, California. Lopez, 18, stabbed his 17-year-old ex-girlfriend Cindy Santana during lunch at Southeast High School, and also attacked two bystanders who tried to help her. What happened? He got convicted of first-degree murder and other counts. How many years did he get? 40 years. Now, the two that they said it's in the ballpark, it's not as close to a comparison to Karmelo Anthony, but you can read those, okay? But they're on here. I'll let you read those, okay? But they said they're not as that. But you can take a screenshot and you can look those up, okay? So I'm going to skip those intentionally because they're not as close, but you can see you can read it at your leisure, okay? Michael Hernandez, I'll skip over to that one. Palmetto Bay, Florida. At 14, Hernandez brought a knife to Southwood Middle School, lured classmate Jaime Gull to a bathroom and stabbed him repeatedly. You know where that happened. First-degree murder, life in prison. So these are I just asked it to give me 5 stories. I just asked it, I said, just give me 5 stories. But we know that there's plenty more than that. So to try to posture this Karmelo Anthony story, if this is some kind of one-of-a-kind story, this is unheard of, nobody of like him who's had a similar case has never, that is hogwash. That is not true. There are many cases of that. And those cases that I just showed you, for example, again, you can't make a meme off of that. I wouldn't say Karmelo Anthony and then compare him to that, because there you can't really fit all of the differences in those cases in a meme. You literally have to take the time and see, okay, what was the differences? What were the technical differences in all of these cases? What I wanted to show you was the outcome, right? That's all I wanted to focus you on. So in other words, the meme focused on the outcome. I said, okay, let's carry that same meme logic and let's look at these other cases through the lens of the meme mindset people. And what I just showed you is that there are many cases. Those are just 5 cases where other people have gotten similar results. Okay? So there you go. There you go. So if you want to think that it's just black people, that's not true. All right, so let's move on. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention, and we're going to talk about this briefly, but not briefly. I'm going to get into it. If you're just joining us, as always, thank you so much for joining in. Really appreciate you guys, each and every one of you, for joining us in this broadcast. And, as you know, our broadcasts go a little bit long, and that's why you can, I would say, please take your time. If you got to dip out and go to sleep or whatever. I hear for some of y'all, you're like, I got to go to sleep, but I'm going to catch up on the rest of it later. You fine. You can do that. This video ain't going nowhere. But just know that you can rely on this platform that we're going to do the best we can to give you as much accurate information as possible. We're not high strung. We ain't screaming and yelling, and we ain't got to do all of that. We're going to calmly look at the facts. And then, as always, we're going to let you decide on what you want, okay? What you decide. But the facts will always stand, okay? So anyway, real quick here, as you know, there was a recent trend that took place on social media where people were, making, and they still are, getting the going to Costco or Sam's and getting the jar of pineapple spears, and adding Kool-Aid mixture to it with sugar. Like, why would you add sugar to pineapple? Like, I still don't get that. But I say, yeah, they ain't going to have a foot in a few years. I hate to say it, but for real. I told my wife the other day, I said, if you want to know what a good investment is, invest in those little carts that you see in the grocery store. Because I see more and more people driving on those carts. And they're looking younger and younger and younger. Anyway, and all these people eating stuff, foolish stuff like that, yeah, they're going to be right on there. You mark my word. But anyway, adding sugar, Kool-Aid, and what else? I think they added something else. I don't know. But sugar, Kool-Aid, the pineapple, and all that, let it soak overnight and all that kind of stuff. You guys have seen that already. And so that's a trend. It's really interesting because that took place right before all this stuff blew out. Now, why am I mentioning this? Why am I mentioning it? Is there a common thread here? Well, yeah, there is. I was watching this video last night. I told you again, I just observed. That's what I do. And there's, as you know, there's a plethora of police body cam footage and, out there. And I just like watching these interactions and seeing what's out there, what's going on, that kind of thing, right? There's this couple of ones I saw last night where it was police officers who had to go into these homes that where, unfortunately, the kids were at risk. They were at high danger. And unfortunately, the police had to go in to take these kids. And, for me, I don't like seeing that. I don't like the idea of the state going in and having to remove people's kids. I ain't with that at all. That is not me at all. But I do understand why that happens. I do understand why that happens, because when you see some of these cases, it's just atrocious. This particular case here that I want to mention briefly, they went into this home. The woman had 10 kids. she gave birth to 10 kids. Well, she was pregnant. Well, she had 9 kids, and she was pregnant with her 10th. I mean, it's just, you know, she goes into the home, and they go into the home. There's literally rat feces on the counter, all on the counter. They open up the refrigerator. It was just full of, it didn't have anything in it. There was like a couple of bowls in there, and it was just like spoiled. It smelled horrible, according to them. Some of the police officers always at the point of gagging. The kids, the clothes they had on was extremely dirty. They said it looked like they've been wearing the same clothes for a month. And the mother just was completely out of it. Now, the officers, if you listen to it, they were being very gentle in the situation, as gentle as they could. They weren't like busting in and saying, "How dare you do it?" They weren't doing any of that. They literally, in the video, they was really trying to help. They wanted to help this woman because they said, "Listen, we want to help you. We want to help these children." You know, and it's just this, but you could see this woman was completely out of it, right? And so they asked the children, "Okay, what have you been eating? What do you eat on a regular basis?" And the children said, "Well, in the morning we have cereal." Well, you know, if it's cereal, it's probably something very sugary. And then they said, "For dinner, we usually have either spaghetti or pizza." And am I saying that's a reflection of all black people? No, I'm not. But what I am saying is there is a growing segment within what we call the black community where you may not live in that type of situation, but there are numbers of black folks when it comes to diet, especially the diet of our children, where the diet is very poor. And some of that, yes, it is tied to poverty. Right? It is tied to poverty or limited income, where there's certain things you can only buy. But a lot of that, I will push back on that and say it's poor decision making. Now, when I say poor decision making, please understand, I'm being very gentle with that again, because I understand that there's a lot of variables that contribute to that poor decision making. It may be, a lot of it has to do with what they saw their parents gave them or didn't give them, right? Or, you know, or the people that they're surrounded with, they never showed them how to eat properly, right? And so if you're eating a lot of sugar, and I'm going to read something to you in a moment, and a lot of that dairy and stuff like that, if that's your daily diet, let me ask you something. What do you think is going to happen to those kids as they get a little bit older? Let me read something to you very quickly here. Very quickly, okay? Now, I need it because of the lack of time. We have done extensive videos talking about this, but for the sake of this video, I just needed something kind of summarized and real quick. So I'm going to read, I am reading out of ChatGPT, but like I said, just go to our Samba Tree YouTube channel where we have done, and even here, we've gone extensively and we've taken the time meticulously to go through and talk about how different things that we consume and the impact it has on our brain and different parts of the body, right? All right, so let me just read this to you, right? Okay, I'm just going to read this to you. So now, before we go any further, we're not saying that eating sugar automatically makes someone incapable of thinking. That would be ridiculous. What I am saying is that the brain is part of the body. The brain is not floating somewhere above your neck, disconnected from everything else. The food you eat becomes the fuel your brain uses. And if the fuel is poor, eventually the performance suffers. Let's talk about what happens. When you constantly consume large amounts of sugar, your body experiences repeated spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Over time, this contributes to inflammation throughout the body. The brain is not exempt from this process. One of the most important parts of the brain is the prefrontal cortex. Think of the prefrontal cortex as the CEO of the brain. This is the part of the brain responsible for critical thinking, long-term planning, self-control, reasoning, decision-making, considering consequences, separating facts from emotions. We can spend all day just on that. When you stop and ask yourself, hold on, let me think about this. That's your prefrontal cortex doing its job. But there's another important part of the brain that's called the amygdala. The amygdala is older and more primitive. Its job is survival. It asks questions like, am I safe? Am I being threatened? Should I fight? Should I run? Should I be angry? The amygdala reacts quickly. The prefrontal cortex thinks carefully. A healthy mind requires balance between the two. The problem is that stress, poor sleep, chronic inflammation, and poor metabolic health can make it harder for the prefrontal cortex to do its job. When this happens, the amygdala starts running more of the show. Now let's bring social media into the conversation. Social media platforms are not designed to reward calm thinking. They reward emotional reactions. Anger gets clicks. Fear gets clicks. Outrage gets clicks. Tribal loyalty gets clicked. The algorithm loves emotional activation. Why? Because emotional people stay engaged. When someone sees a highly emotional story on their timeline, two different responses can occur. Response number one comes from the prefrontal cortex. Let me gather the facts. Let me hear both sides. Let me examine the evidence. Let me make sure I'm not jumping to conclusions. Response number two comes from the amygdala. I already know who's right. I already know who's wrong. I don't need any more information. It was all white jury. That's all I know. Anyone who disagrees with me is the enemy. One response is thoughtful. The other response is reactive. Now think about what happens when a population is dealing with poor sleep, high stress, constant social media stimulation, highly processed foods, excessive sugar, and declining metabolic health. You are creating the perfect environment for emotional reactions to overpower critical thinking. The body affects the brain affects the mind affects behavior. Behavior shapes entire communities. This is why health is not just about losing weight. Health is not about just fitting into a smaller shirt. Health is not about looking good. Health affects how you think. Health affects how you process information. Health affects how you make decisions. Health affects how easily you can be manipulated. If someone can control your emotions, they can often control your attention. And if they can control your attention, they can often influence your behavior. This is why protecting your mind begins with protecting your body. The fight is not only taking place on your timeline, it's also taking place on your plate. Because every day we are feeding either the part of ourselves that reacts or the part of ourselves that thinks. I think that's right on the money. And we've done videos on this as well. Black Americans lead the way when it comes to the amount of time spent on social media. In other words, when you compare all the racial groups in the United States, Black Americans lead the way out of all groups in America when it comes to the amount of time we spend on social media. Now you couple that with the other issues that we deal with, health issues, our diets, it is a very bad mixture. And we have said this repeatedly and issued out warnings over and over again on this platform. I said, it's going to get worse, especially with AI and all of that, because what AI is doing now is exasperating these things that have already been in existence. That's exactly what's happening. And that's what we're witnessing right now. And honestly, it's very frightful what I'm seeing right now. So anyway, let's move on. Let me go to, because I'm just, I'm looking at my time here. This is the last thing I wanted to touch on here. Let's see, just some of the things I'm just going to highlight to you, that other things that have been going on, that are unfortunate, and I will end on a positive one, I promise you. But these are some other things that have been going on, and nobody's really been paying attention to it because it doesn't fit the current narrative. But these are things you have to ask yourself, are you united with people who do not look at these things and say, you know what, we got to do something about this. We got to stop this kind of foolishness. A Frisco, Texas, same area, couple, LaShonda and Marlon Moore, have been sentenced to 40 years each in prison for running a $30 million pyramid scheme that defrauded over 10,000 people during the COVID-19 pandemic. The couple operated through their Blessings in No Time program. Wow. So you know they were targeting black folks. So you might as well say close to 10,000 black folks were defrauded about $30 million. And nobody's talking about that. And you got all these so-called celebrities that are lining up and saying they're going to send hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Karmelo Anthony family. Let me just mention this too. Someone mentioned this, and I thought it was a very good point. On social media right now, you know what black folks are doing? Again, some, not all. You know what they're doing? They actually are saying we need to load his prison. I'm going to call it prison credit. I know there's an actual name for it. I think it's commissary, whatever. It doesn't come to mind right now. Some of y'all, you can add it in the comments. They are assembling folks and saying, let's load up his credit so that he's taken care of and he's got this money. I want you, this again, see, we think here on this platform, you are setting Karmelo up to be a target in prison. If you think that he's going in prison and they're just going to surround him in love and all of that, wait till you find out, wait until they find out that Karmelo Anthony and his family are being loaded up with hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let me ask you something. What do you think the inmates, how they're going to treat that? How are they going to treat Karmelo Anthony in that situation? How do you think that's going to play out in the prison population when they know that he's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars while they're sitting up there just languishing in prison? What do you think? Do you think they're going to treat him extra special? Oh yeah, they're going to treat him extra special, all right. So these Negroes are out here making him more of a target by announcing to the world, we're going to load him up and we're going to send him even more money. See, again, you don't think that, okay, you're actually going to probably you're making him more of a target in the prison population. That's what you're doing. But you're not thinking because your prefrontal cortex is pretty much dead. Anyway, let's move on. I just look at this stuff and I'm like, my goodness. Anyway, let's move on. This was a story we covered a while back here, but it's worth a reminder. It's a very sad story. This took place in Georgia, Villa Rica, which is near South Cobb, in the South Cobb area in Georgia. 12-year-old Jada West, a black girl from Villa Rica, Georgia, tragically died days after a fight with another teen at her school bus stop. And this happened in March of this year. Jada, a sixth grader at Masons Creek Middle School, got into an argument that started on a bus and continued after they, let me continue here, got in, let's see, and continued after they got off. Video shows the girls yelling and then fighting. Jada fell hard, landing on her back and soon collapsed. She suffered a severe brain injury and went into cardiac arrest and passed away on March the 8th. Her family says she had been bullied and is demanding a full investigation and accountability. Shaquille O'Neal actually stepped up and covered the funeral costs. We did a video. We talked about this story. Did you hear black people in mass coming together and saying enough is enough? No, because when it came out, what was revealed on that video was that it was black girls that did that. Black girls did that to her. But then you bring this up to black people. What are they going to say? The black people who would allow this on here, what did black folks, these special black folks, what are they going to say? Well, I'm looking at the hairline and it looks like they're Caribbean. Because see, black Americans, we don't do that. FBA, ADOS, we don't do that kind of stuff. Here's another one here. These are just random stories that every day happening every day. Nobody really gives a damn about any of this stuff because it doesn't fit a narrative, but it does address what we were just talking about, what happens when your prefrontal cortex is out to lunch. It's not even working. Pregnant woman and her sister are accused of stabbing a restaurant worker and throwing hot grease on her after receiving the wrong food order. So you got the wrong food order and you just completely went off and decided to throw hot grease on her after receiving the wrong food order. Brianna Long, 29, and Kiriana Long, 26, went inside the restaurant and attacked a 23-year-old worker. One of the sisters allegedly threw hot grease at the employee. Kiriana then grabbed a knife and stabbed the worker in the stomach because the order was wrong. The employee was rushed to the hospital and underwent emergency surgery. Folks, over a wrong order. Can you imagine that? You got the order wrong. They got so mad that the first thing that comes in their mind is, we're going to stab you and try to kill you. Here's another one here. And I'm not going to play. There are videos that I wish I could play for y'all because, I just want to keep it. I want people to see this stuff because people be running away from this stuff here. But here's one here. The man went off because once again, and this happens often, his order was wrong and he's going buck wild. He's going off on the workers. Going off on them, threatening them because the order was wrong. Let me see what else I had here. Here's a guy right here. Again, this all happened recently, like within the last couple of weeks here. Here's a guy right here where he's on a train, wielding a knife and threatening to kill passengers in the Charlotte, North Carolina light rail this week. The same train where that woman from Ukraine was murdered. And he's a repeat offender with over 19 charges. See, people like to talk about, do these white versus black comparisons. The justice system is unjust and all of that. But people don't want to bring up how many times black offenders are put right back out in the street over and over and over again, where they continue to commit crime and they go right back out. The judge just let them right back out. That doesn't bother you? You don't see anything wrong with that? You don't see anything wrong with that. Okay. Here's another story that just happened in Texas again. Did you hear anything about this one? 16-year-old daughter shoots and kills her mother in Galveston, Texas, then makes a TikTok video. That doesn't faze you at all. That's just run of the mill. It wasn't a white person involved in that, so we're just gonna keep it right on pushing. That doesn't bother you at all. That's just a nothing. We ain't supposed to be moved by that. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Folks, there's videos that when I tell you, I'll just describe. There was another video that this is a news story. Again, all of this happened within the last 2 weeks. A 12-year-old boy is recovering in the hospital after being shot near an Atlanta park playground Friday evening. 12-year-old black boy He was shot. He just being a kid, going to his local park, and he gets shot by ignorant fools that decide to take their grievances out to where there are people and decide to have a shooting match. It hits a kid and nobody gives a damn about it at all. You got children daily that are being shot in what we call the black community. Are we saying this is a reflection of every black person? No, we're not. Are we saying that this is behavior, unfortunately, that is condoned and endorsed on a daily basis? Yes, that is what's happening within the culture, right? Within the culture. You as an individual have a decision. Are you unified with that culture? Is this the type of culture that you're unified with? Or are you someone that's saying, you know what? No, I'm not. Let me show you this. Hopefully I have the screenshot and we're going to sign off because I see how long we've been. And again, as always, I do appreciate each and every one of you guys' patience and hanging in there with me and all of that. As you can see, there is a ton of stuff that we can go through and talk about here. And yes, I do have it here. Thankfully, I do have it here. Let me bring it over to my computer here. And let me bring this up here because I want you to see this is very important. What we're doing is right perfectly in alignment to what our ancestors were doing, calling this stuff out and demanding that our culture should be one that has standards, right? High standards. That's all we're doing here. I had someone trying to argue with me this week and saying that it's funny, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. You have people out there that will, you know, they try to sound intellectual, but you're using all these words, but you don't really understand what you're saying. And this individual is trying to accuse me of blaming all black people and saying that you're just cherry picking these stories here and trying to say that this is representative of the culture. It is, because it happens every day. It happens every day. You can look at Asian culture. You can look at culture, Mexican culture. Everybody, all of these cultures have practices that they do every day. That is a reflection of their culture. And black folks are no different. There are certain things we do, good and bad. That is a reflection of our culture. The problem is that you got jackasses out here that only want to focus on, well, we got to make sure that we only focus on the positive, and those are just exceptions. Well, an exception after a while is not an exception anymore when it happens every day. You understand what I'm saying? It's not an exception anymore. Let me cue this up here because I'm gonna make sure I don't forget this. Let me see here. Oh yeah. Please hang on, y'all. You know, because we're talking about, you know, of course, we're pointing out some of this negative stuff, but please hang on. Let me show you just two things. I promise you after this, I am done. The last thing is going to be the positive that's happening in the black community, because we're not going to leave it there. All right. So please just hang on with me. Let me show you this on the screen here of what I was talking about. Please take a screenshot of this. I'll try to put this on our community page. Just give me a moment here. It's not that. Let's see. Where is it? Was it downloads? Let's see. Don't be acting up on me now. I just brought you over here. Hold on for a second. All right. Where is this thing? Hold on. It's under downloads. Okay, downloads. Hold on, y'all. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Give me just a moment. Let's do this again. Downloads. Why it does that? Oh, here it is. I hate when it does that. Anyway, here it is. I got it. All right, here we go. All right, so let me share this with you very, very quickly. Right here. All right, so this was an article that was posted in the Chicago Defender back in 1919. I'm not going to read all of it, but I will, if I remember tonight, I will post it either tonight or tomorrow on the community page, and you can read it at your leisure. But let me just read some of it, okay? A fierce agitation is being waged by certain classes of citizens against immigration of Southern people to northern cities. It is charged that they are undesirable and are supplanting white laborers in various branches of work. In seeking a remedy to prevent laborers from the Southland securing employment and making an honest living for themselves and their families, every vile thing possible has been said and unlawful acts committed against the men and women who have come to this and other cities of the North during the past several months, while the Southern white is coming in droves to the same trains and we hear no kicks from anyone. It is evident that some of the people coming to the city have seriously erred in their conduct in public places, much to the humiliation of all respectable classes of our citizens, and by doing so, on account of their ignorance of law and customs necessary for the maintenance of health, sobriety, and morality among the people in general, have given our enemies ground for complaint. We consider it absolutely necessary that a united effort should be made on the part of all law-abiding citizens to the endeavor to warn and to teach those by their acts to bring reproach upon the colored people of the city to strictly observe the laws, city ordinances, and customs, and to conduct themselves as to reflect credit upon themselves. By so doing it will disarm those who are endeavoring to discredit our race. We call attention to some of the things that should be observed by our people. And then they give this whole list here. Don't use vile language in public places. Don't act discourteously to other people in public places. Don't allow yourself to be drawn into street brawls. Don't use liberty as a license to do as you please. Don't take the part of the lawbreakers. Be they men, women, and children. I can read that again. Don't take the part of lawbreakers. Be they men, women, or children. Don't make yourself a public nuisance. Don't encourage gamblers, reputable women or men to ply their business anytime, any place. It goes on and on. Don't appear on the street with old dust caps, dirty aprons, and ragged clothes. I mean, they go in a lot of detail here. So the people that posted this in the black newspaper in 1919, if they were to say this stuff down, guess who they would be accused of? Being coons, being sellouts, Uncle Toms. What's the brother's name? He wears the white hat. He's on here on YouTube. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know his name, but he did a whole series. It was a very good series. He talked about this. He did, it was very good research that he does. But he talked about during this time, early 1900s, where the northern blacks who migrated up to the north, they were established, they were doing their thing and all of that. But they said the ones coming from the south, well, they had a whole different characteristic and the demeanor, different things they were doing. They were basically like niggas. So the ones in the north were saying, man, listen, y'all, if you're going to come up here, don't mess this up for us. We're going to gently tell you some of the things you're going to need to straighten out. And so that's what they did. They posted it. And so anyway, but that's what happened. Here we are in 2026, and we're still having the same conversation. Anyway, I'll post that. That was in the Chicago Defender based in 1919. It's a very good read. Check it out when you get a chance. Okay, so finally, let's get to a bit of happy points. Okay, some good things here. A few videos I came across. This is probably has some music to it. Oh, it doesn't. Good. I thought this was a very beautiful picture here. These are tea parties in Harlem. Check out these beautiful young black girls out here who are just out here just having a wonderful time in Harlem, just walking to their tea party. They say they've been doing this for 15 years. Check this out. Aren't they beautiful? Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? Isn't that something? We love seeing that, don't we? We love seeing that. That's wonderful. Anyway, let's move on. The next story here. This is a young black man. He said he is officially opening his 5th Smoothie King this year. I don't see the location of it. Let me see if this has any music to it.
Smoothie King. Man.
Okay, good. I love it when they don't put music to it because that means we can play it. Here we go. Here's another one here. I know I keep bringing that up. I'm sorry. I'm doing that intentionally. Okay, here we go.
Smoothie King. Man, I'm so excited. This one hits really different. And I know y'all see these dirty walls, old floors, and this empty space behind me, but trust me, it's going to look crazy when it's all done. Unlike my last 4 locations, I'm bringing y'all along with me step by step. Y'all are going to see the full journey from beginning to the end. I'm going to show y'all all the good, and trust me, I'm definitely going to show y'all the bad too. Y'all be sure to follow because I will be dropping videos weekly. Man, honestly, opening new stores can be a big headache. It's not as glamorous as social media makes it seem. It's way more stress, problems, and delays than people realize. You get equipment that breaks before the store even opens, permits start moving slow, and the budget will get tested. We're going to go through all of that. It's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different people that all come together to help build a store. So if you ever dreamed about owning a franchise, owning a business, or just leveling up in life, then this is the place to be. Y'all buckle up. But yeah, 5 stores down, 20 more to go. Remember, the goal is 25 stores.
Wonderful. Check that out. Check that out. He didn't say, unfortunately. If I knew, if he had given the location, I was sure enough to tell you. But I didn't see. So, but if I find out, I'll let you know. Let's see. Oh, I saw that one. Okay, there's. I know I got a TikTok here. I want to show y'all. I was literally smiling through this whole video here. There's actually 1, 2. Oh, I meant to say this. Do you guys know the Good brand? Goode. It's basically, they make, I know they do canned vegetables. This is actually a black family. The Good brand. I've seen it in the grocery store. We don't always do canned foods in our house, so we don't really get it, but I don't like glory foods. I mean, you do you know what I'm saying? But we typically don't. But they've been doing this for a long time. And I would encourage you, look them up. Please look up the Good family. It's a black family, and they've been doing this for years. A very inspiring story. Very, very inspiring story. But anyway, they're out. They've been doing this for years and years and years, right? And I think now the son is taking over and all that. And I think the daughter is coming and all that. Beautiful story, entrepreneur story. Well, since this whole boycott thing, I told you got like I said, the retarded class that are out here. And now they're getting attacked online by some who are saying, well, they're not really Black American. They're actually Caribbean. See, y'all got to check this out. They're Caribbean, so no, we don't need to support them. I have a post there. A lot of people were like, oh, my God, okay, I can't support them now. You see how crazy that is? Where they literally are turning on other people for this. I mean, and the Good family, I mean, they're well established. They've been doing this for years and years and years and years and years and years. But now they turn, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyway, here's a story. You could just see this girl beaming. And I loved every second of it. I loved every second of this video here. Check out this video here.
Come with me for the very first time to go see my product at CVS. So I literally started this brand in my home kitchen. So to be at a CVS might I add, that I used to live by growing up here in Atlanta in college. When you see play pits on the shelves, I'm gonna give you one thing. This was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in business, launching this product in the store. Being a small business, doing business with a retailer this scale, it takes a lot of work. Look at the deodorant. I don't know where it's at, so we're going to start. I found it! That is so cool. So Playfits is right here. We have Sugar, we have Sunshine, we have Happy. Oh, Playfits is at CVS. Run to your local CVS now. Keep your kid from being smelly with Play Pits this summer. Come with me for the very first time to go see my product at CVS.
Yay!
So
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Kitchen.
Sorry. I
So
gotta
to
stop.
be
Stop.
at a
Stop. Stop. I
CVS,
got you,
a
sis. I
CVS,
got
might
you.
I add, that I used to live by growing up
Sorry.
here.
I keep bringing this thing up, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yay! When I tell you what I saw, that I was just beaming with her because you could just see how radiant she was. And I was just so happy for her. Play Pits is a deodorant for children because she was saying that, you know, you pick up your kids from soccer practice or whatever and they stank. And so she was saying, I came up with a deodorant that's safe for children and that's it. And now it's in CVS. And it's just, wow, that is so good to see, you know, and even in Target, there's still black people, entrepreneurs that have been in Target. But you got these, again, highly emotional people say, we're going to boycott Target. We're going to take it all down. And you're going to take black folks down with you. Those are people who don't even understand how business works. But anyway, so that was that. And then it was one other video here. I don't know if you guys seen this story here, but this is another black woman who she got canceled by YouTube because of a song that she came up with. Some of y'all may have heard of this one. Give me just a moment. Let me get it up for you and let's go.
You're a boy, you grow up to be a man. Here's the story in a nutshell. Since several have been asking for details, I love to share it. So about 5 years ago, I created Child's Heritage Kid Dance Songs channel, which was mainly about nursery rhyme remakes and fun kid dance songs. I had recently closed my home daycare and I wanted to move in another direction to help create content for kids because I was a mother of 3 at that time. But I began to see that there were some things I wanted my kids to learn, my kids to get based off of the world that we live in. And so I created a song called She Is She and He Is He.
Boys are boys from the beginning. Girls are girls from the start. Girls are girls.
No hate in this song, just saying the truth. And so I also started posting on TikTok a little bit later after creating that video. And so what I believe happened is people from TikTok went over to my YouTube, my Kids Dance Songs channel, and began to report the videos. And so I was demonetized shortly after that in October of 2025. Another thing I wanted to add is that once I received the email of demonetization, it was without any warning whatsoever. I made a couple of videos talking about how I was demonetized, but I had a second channel called Child's Heritage Toddler that I just said, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep working at this because I believe in the message of the truth and teaching kids about the truth. And so what I ended up doing was just putting my work into that one. And so that one became eligible for monetization. But when I went to apply for monetization, it was denied because they said that it was connected to the first channel. And so this is why I created a video like I did saying that no one should be canceled for this, because even if I make other channels and I work hard at it just like I have been, they still won't allow monetization. And so I love what I do and I'm going to continue to do it despite the obstacles that I faced. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even allowed on YouTube Kids. And so that's another level. But either way, what I'm saying is that I technically have been canceled because I said the very same thing Mr. Rogers said. Girls are girls and boys are boys. There is no other reason for a channel like mine to get demonetized, because I literally was doing kid nursery rhyme remakes. And so if we're living in a world where we can't say that girls are girls and boys are boys, there's a problem. Even if people don't agree with that, okay, but it's not harmful to teach children that. But that's my story in a nutshell. This is why I created it the way that I did, and why I said no one should be canceled for saying this, because I am the one that got canceled for saying it. But anyways, I hope this clears some things up. If not, ask some questions. I'm happy to answer them. But I love you guys, and take care.
And so if you want to follow her, she's on TikTok. It's Child's Heritage. Child's Heritage. And, you know, there were people that were asking, well, how do I support her or whatever? And she actually, you know, gives all of that information, you know, because there was a lot of people who's quite interested in wanting to support her financially. And, you know, when I start looking shiny, that means time for me to shut it down. But anyway, because I'm looking, I was like, wow, okay, it's my light. That's what it is too. But anyway, check her out. And it's good to know, like I said, again, we talk about, you know, we gotta look at the whole picture here, the whole picture. And one of the things I pointed out to this individual that was like trying to come at me and all that. And like I said, again, you could disagree. That's fine. But my thing is, if you're going to have a discussion, if we're going to have a discussion, let's start from a place of honesty. And for those who follow me know that I never make this blanket accusation, say all black people are this way or that way, because that's not true. We're going to look at the negative. We're going to talk about that. If you got a cancer on your body, we're not going to sit up here and say, just put a winter coat on and make it disappear. No, we're going to take that coat off and say, no, we need to address this. We need to get rid of this, right? Otherwise, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? So we gotta be honest with it, right? We gotta be very honest with all of these things, and that's what we try to do. Same thing with this Karmelo Anthony situation. I promise you guys, we're not going to continue to talk about this case because it's just what it is. He's in prison. He will be in prison for a very long time, and you know, it's just what it is. It was a very bad mistake. The only bright spot I will see in this for him is that he's not going to be in there for life. So hopefully when he comes out on the other end, he's kind of a different person for the better. You know what I mean? So let's all hope that for Karmelo that's the case. But in the meantime, let's turn our attention to these everyday cases where people that look like us are being killed every day. Families every day are losing loved ones. They're losing babies. They're losing moms. They're losing fathers, you know, to just senseless acts. Let's be concerned about that, right? Let's speak up and call it out for what it is. There are a lot of people out there that don't want to hear that, and they're going to call you coon. They're going to call you sellout. They're going to call you Uncle Tom. Y'all, it don't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all, because that's all they got. All I'm doing is trying to demonstrate love, the same love that was given to me as a child growing up in my own home. That's all I'm giving back. And people don't want that, that's fine. It goes to whosoever will want to get it. That's for you. But we're about fixing things, not just talking about, but also fixing things. And I know many of you are the same way. So there you go. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said, again, I don't take for granted or lightly that you have taken time out of your day to sit here and listen to me run my mouth for 2.5 hours. Wow. We've been on here for a minute. But anyway, that's it. Thank you so much. You guys take care and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, weekend, whatever it is you're listening.